Welcome back, everybody. Today we are taking a look at the Altra Vanish Tempo. I guess at this point I'm just slowly making my way through the Altra running shoe lineup. I started with the Torrent 7s, now the Escalante. I reviewed the Lone Peak 9s for some trail running on vacation, and now I have the Vanish Tempos on my desk here. And these are kind of an awesome shoe. I'm going to go through the facts and figures real quick, but just to set this up, this is the little brother to the Altra Vanish Carbon. It is essentially the same exact shoe, just without the carbon plate beneath the foot. It still has that Ego Pro midsole foam and all of the other mesh upper and stylings of the Vanish Carbon. The only other major difference is this heel box is much more padded and I would say stiff, as opposed to a loose and light heel box on the Carbon. And that's probably just for the fact that this is more of a training shoe, so you want a little bit more comfort and a little bit more, fill in on your daily runs, as opposed to strictly a race shoe. With that said, let's take a look at the numbers. The Altra Vanish Tempo is a zero drop shoe, so there is no difference between the stack height and the heel and the toe, which is very typical of Altra. It's kind of their niche, and it is their more slim fit toe box, which in theory is better for higher speeds, but a little bit of a trade-off compared to Altra's normal toe box is that classic or that regular toe box is wider to kind of accommodate the splaying of the feet where you're landing more on your midfoot. It does have the Ultra Ego Pro midsole and a rubber outsole, and it's 8.2 ounces or 232 grams per shoe. Not the worst, but not the best, I would say. Ego Pro foam is pretty dense, but adds a lot of springiness and a lot of confidence when you're going at those tempo speeds. And then of course it has 33 millimeters of stack height, which is the most stack I have run on in an Altra shoe. Otherwise, not too much support, and there's no support features on the shoe like Altra's guide rail. One of the things I really like about this shoe is this upper. It is very breathable and has those support strands in there. I don't know really what to call them, but they take the tension from the upper and transmit it through to the midsole, so leaving a lot of room for airflow and for cooling. My feet have not overheated at all in these shoes so far, and that's despite doing some pretty fast training runs, I would say. I get in these shoes and I cannot outrun them. I try and push the pace and I don't overheat, and I don't feel like the shoe is struggling to keep up with me. If anything, it is comfortable going even faster than what I'm currently capable of pushing it to, which is kind of insane. This is one of Altra's thinner tongues that I have heard complaints online about before. To me, I don't mind it at all. It has a little bit of extra padding where you might have a runner's heel lock because you're going at those faster speeds. I put the heel lock in, and I haven't been bothered by either the tongue or the lacing. I mean, when you put in a heel lock, it does make it harder to lace and unlace the shoe, but you just have to be kind of patient when taking off or putting on your shoes. The other thing about the outsole of these shoes is I think the heel is a little overdone. I don't think the heel really needs this much rubber on the bottom, and it doesn't feel quite as flat as some of Altra's other zero drop shoes. It does feel like that heel is a little heavy, so it doesn't feel quite as midfoot and forefoot centric as some of Altra's other shoes. Otherwise, the little Z patterns in them catch very small stones. Not that that's really a problem, but it's just kind of one of the things a lot of shoes do that, I don't know, I spend some time digging out the little small stones every once in a while. It's kind of annoying, but it's fine at the end of the day. And speaking of those training runs, let's go over what I've done in them so far. So far, I've done about 4 runs in them, 2 10-milers and 2 8-milers, and I think they've held up really well so far. The Outsole is getting a little dirty, but that's just going to be the case in any pair of shoes. Otherwise, I don't see any significant wear so far, which is nice. Mostly done on road and then a couple crushed limestone rail trails. The big thing for me so far is I've been able to push the pace below 6 minutes and 30 seconds per mile pretty consistently in these shoes, which kind of blows my mind. Like, I get that they're new shoes and they're not totally worn down, but I don't think I've consistently pushed below 6:30 pace on training runs in almost any pair of shoe. I have run one marathon at a little bit above 6:30 pace, and those were in my Altra Escalantes. And those handled that pretty well, but they also wore down pretty quickly. If I look at them right now, I've almost worn through entirely the outsole of my left shoe. These, I'm hoping to get like that 300-mile durability out of these shoes, and I'm thinking that the outsole is probably going to be the biggest struggle, just because it does seem to be pretty thin. But I guess we'll see. If I end up running on kind of that Ego Pro midsole, I imagine I won't have very much grip. And not that these are the grippiest shoes anyways, but I just think over time these are going to wear down maybe more than I would like. Probably not a 500-mile shoe for sure. So for that reason, I'm probably going to cut the training mileage on these and use a second shoe for easy days and slower, longer days, as opposed to that tempo pace, to try and make these last until my marathon in the spring. These do only come in a white colorway, and I can already notice them getting a little bit dirty, a little bit gray, a little bit brown in spots, which is just the nature of white shoes in general, which is why I almost never buy white shoes. These shoes are on sale right now because they're towards the end of their product lifespan. They only come in 11, 11.5, 12, 13 in this color, and I think 11.5 and 12 in the other color. I'm really hoping that Altra makes a second generation of these, as they have made a second generation of the Altra Vanish Carbons, because so far I am really loving these shoes, and if they made a second generation of these, that means more people could get into them and start using them for their tempo run, and they wouldn't have to pay that higher price point for that carbon plate in the shoe, and it could help their training for race days. The other thing about the Altra Vanish Tempos is that they have a pretty significant toe over. I'm going to try and show you it. It's very comfortable at that sort of forward-leaning stance, and it emphasizes pushing off on the midfoot and the toe in order to get you going at those faster tempo speeds. Without a carbon plate, it feels very interesting, and I imagine it can be off-putting to some runners who aren't experienced with it. So far, I don't mind it at all, frankly. It does push that pace a little bit. It gives you a little bit of confidence, but also you might not be ready for it. Like, I'm even struggling to keep up with it. My heart rate's higher than maybe I would like, and I feel like I can't go slower. Like, obviously I can, but I don't want to. I feel like I'm doing the shoe a disservice. But yeah, that toe over is pretty aggressive. It's similar to the Vanish Carbon. It's going to push that pace, and it's not going to be exactly the most ideal for a slower or just regular training run where you're not trying to push that pace. I imagine people are going to struggle to find these in person and in stores with the right sizes they want. So I would recommend going online. Altra is even running a promotion where you can get 10% off or 20% off. I'm really excited to continue training in these and see just how far I can push these for my tempo training runs. I think these are going to be a really good shoe, and I'm really happy with them so far. Let's go outside and take them for a run. Alright everyone, that's going to do it for my quick review of the Altra Vanish Tempo. If you found this review helpful, be sure to like it down below. And if you have experience with the Altra Vanish Tempo, I would love to hear about it down in the comments. Thanks for watching everybody, and be sure to share the love of running.